Hello, ladies and gentlemen. You already know who it is. It's the God himself, Brendan, back at it again with another social studies presentation. Give me a hand, please. I'm tired. Okay. So, let's just get down to the point. The war in Europe coming in fast and strong with these delicious facts. Alrighty, and here we go. Mobilized sources. Once America entered the war, they realized to even pose a threat to the Central Powers, they would need a bigger army, obviously. They tried posters to inspire people to help the war effort, but they still needed more troops. The United States of America came out with the Selective Service Act. The Selective Service Act basically drafted, and it is now known as a draft, but it still can't be called Selective Service, um, but most people call it the draft. Drafted U.S. male citizens. I think there now you can have female citizens be drafted in. I'm not 100% sure. Um, or there. No, I don't think you can. I think there were protests that they should be able to. But yeah. They drafted male forces to join, or male citizens to join the U.S. United States Army, government, Air Force, etc. A lot of people were drafted into the Army, Navy, and Air Force, and rarely did anybody get drafted into a nice cozy desk job, given info because the U.S. mostly needed more troops on the ground or in the air. The U.S. expanded their army 5 times as big as how it was before the Selective Service Act. Also, some of the ads that were used were was aimed to buy like postcards and bonds to help the war effort. For supplies that anybody with money could buy, basically. Even if it was just a few cents, a little postcard, it's a few cents closer for another piece of food that they can eat or medicine that could potentially save someone's lives. Alright, moving on to the National War Labor Board. Once times got rough in the U.S. in the war, Woodrow Wilson, our president, appointed the National War Labor Board. National War Labor Board prevented striking and changed wages that could badly affect the war effort. What this means is that uh, basically to pay your bills, you need to work longer, harder, for the same amount of money you got before the war, and taxes rose to further help the war effort. Minority and women. This is the first time in American history that women were allowed to have anything to do with the war other than to donate money. The woman made. Oh, sorry about that. The woman made uniforms, weapon equipment, but they did not fight. Fun fact: Poland. Never gonna learn this anywhere else here. Kids, jot down notes right now. But in Poland, not many people know this. There was a unmilitarized volunteer secret group called the World War I Russian Battalion of Death. This was a secret volunteer group for women in Poland to fight on the front lines of the war, or sit back, you know, use some of the provided cannons. This is one of the main reasons some people call World War I the Total War. Not because of the massive amounts of death, but because there were women fighting in the war, too. May not have been under legal or under military control, but they fought. That's good enough for me, right? But I just want to note, this happened in Poland. So that happened in the USA. Therefore, it didn't have much relevance in here at all, but it's actually really cool if you want to learn about it. The Great Migration, when you think of people migrating, or not people migrating, you think of the word migrating, you'll probably think of like sea turtles, like what's a good example, like, you know the turtles in Nemo, when they're like going through the flow current and stuff? Well, that's migrating. Um, but the greatest migration is probably one of the biggest immigrations in the world. The reason I call it immigration is because it had 6 million Africans, or not Africans, well, yeah, I guess, African Americans, and it lasted till 1950 to 1970s. The Great Migration was criticized by calling it the Great Migration. A lot of people saw it wrong to call this a Great Migration, considering the word migration is usually used for animals moving to the other side of the ocean or animals moving to a different area. Said migration so many times there. Even though slavery was outlawed, there was still cruelty and unfairness in the South. The African Americans in the South saw that the there would be more prosperity and job opportunities in the North, considering they're more welcome there. So they moved up north into the major cities. And if there was no room in the major cities, went someplace else. Basically, just priority was north. If they could get north, that was a good thing to them. Resources and rationing. So I have a poster up here, from one of the food administrations, which we'll get into in a second. So when World War One started, a lot of the farmhands either joined the U.S. Army, Navy, etc., or was drafted into the military. As you probably guessed, because all the farmers are gone, left the nation short, just a tad bit short on food supply. And when I say tad bit, I mean like buttloads of food. Just bye bye. See it, nerd. All right. When Germany started unrestricted submarine warfare and sunk cargo ships, it worsened the shortages, especially in England. It didn't only kill them; it just like all that food that was getting from the U.S. Food Administration, which I'll tell you in a second, are just gone. Wheat harvest was lower than ever during that time, and the price of certain items started to rise up. In 1917, the Women's Land Army was made and replaced the male farmers that left or got drafted in to fight the war. Many ads and propaganda encouraged the citizens to to grow their own food, follow their own food. For most food, especially bread, there were limits on how much you should use in a cake or a loaf of bread. Here were some of the requirements I have gathered on the internet from World War One. Bread including cakes, puddings, etc. 4 pounds at most that you could use. Meat including bacon, ham, sausages, game, I think that's how it is. It's like spelled like game, but I don't think it's called game. Rabbits, poultry, and tinned meat, 2.5 pounds or 1.1 kilogram. Sugar, or 3/4 of a pound for sugar, and that equates to 340 grams. Although the wealthy were still fine because they still could afford the expensive foods, when the price rised up, you could see the damage it did to the poor communities. The government introduced ration cards, which allowed you to buy food and supplies with stamps at the store. Once you used that stamp, you couldn't use it for the rest of the month. Everyone had to register at the local butcher. Even when World War I ended, some items were still being rationed, like butter. Butter was on the ration list for around 3 years after World War 3 years after World War I ended. Herbert Hoover, my boy. Oh. Herbert Hoover, who was later going to become our president, was the leader of the American Food Administration. American Food Administration reminded and enforced people to make more food and eat just enough. They also sent much food to Europe because the Europeans had it much worse than us. Ours was like God sent compared to England. Propaganda, public support, and George Creel, my second boy, coming in clutch. Every single nation published posters to the street that justified the war and encouraged people to help with the war effort. The United States was only in the war for just a year and a half, which is still a long time. For war. Well, not really for war, but still, it's a while. But ironic thing is that they published many more of these posters than any other nation, with its leader, George Creel. George Creel was the head of the U.S. World War I propaganda. He was also a journalist around the war, started to investigate for Rocky Mountain News in 1911 to help break down what is happening for the war effort for the United States of American citizens. Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah. Alright. Calm it down. Alright. Socialism during the war. Socialists are people who find war unruly and wrong. During World War One, the socialists said that the war was only in capital interest. The socialists gathered and stated that the only reason any of these nations are in the war is because of greed and to gain more power and land, which is somewhat true. Like the Zimmerman telegram, when it was sent there, they promised Mexico land, and if they lost, uh, or if Germany like won and United States and the Allied powers lost, you know, England and America could have lost some land. So it is very true. Um, Socialists stated that war brings death and destruction to the losers, and that it only helps the ruling nations that become victorious in the war, which is very true. Um, Pacifists during the war. Pacifists are people who find violence in war useless and barbaric, and for this case, it is. And I'm gonna have a video that I'm gonna show you guys. There's one guy in it who explains why the war was useless and how easily it could have been just avoided. Before the war started in Europe, there were pre-peace movements to stop the nation from moving into war against Germany, and later, as you can tell, they probably entered the war, or did enter the war, not probably, they did. And later followed America. Pacifist was running throughout England and America, especially in Seattle, in America. There was a big peace movement of 5,000 peaceful pacifists going through the streets and parading and peacefully protesting that what the U.S. is doing is wrong. Like, the boys, listen, should not enter the war. But soldiers came out, told them to shut up, and then told them to go away and stop, and that they can't be here or talk here anymore, and started using force. Many newspapers came out that the U.S. or the United States soldiers took away their free speech. I'm not pacifist or socialist, but they should have been able to stay there and protest. It's free speech, First Amendment, boom, get wrecked. Alright. Remember like 2 seconds ago when I told you that kind of took away their free speech and freedom? Well, I completely took it away. June 1917, Congress passed a temporary law that the citizens of the United States of America cannot criticize or speak about the government, the uniform, the soldiers, or the flag, and a couple other things. Many immigrants coming from different countries were upset and confused about why this was, and thought that America's freedom of speech stuff was all garbage. They basically got bamboozled. They got swafferdonked. What could you say? It also was illegal to spy, obviously. They outlawed that. Although no people were caught for spying. 2,000 people were arrested for espionage. You could have gotten up to 20 years in jail for one of these causes. So, I'm gonna do math for you right now, boys. And girls. And maybe something else. I don't know. Alright. 20 or 2,000 divided. Let's just say they all got put in for 20 years. 2,000 times 20 equals 40,000? Wait. Yeah. 40,000 people. Yeah, I don't have my stuff with me, so, I'm writing this down on a piece of paper. So you could have gotten, but if you were to, sit in there, live in the jail cells, let's just say they were all in there for 20 years, that's 40,000 years prison time. That is long, let me tell ya, boys. Let me tell ya. Why am I going back? That's not what I meant to do. I wanted to read this, for you guys. Just put this way. Alright. Carl Van Doren says, Here is, I think, a book as important, or as important as any that can be published at any time like this. So far as I command the materials, they seem to me as sound as rocks. I am confirmed in this by my own special knowledge of how subversive activities went on during the Revolution and the Civil War. Such things are always the same and in disguises that do greatly vary. But few people dream of what has been going on in the United States and will continue to go underground if the whole people is not made aware. Sabotage. It will make history as well as be it. Or, wait, as well as be it. Yeah, okay, I read that right. So this is basically just allowing sabotage and spying poster, which there wasn't really much sabotage or spying, so you yeah, that's about it. Here's a protest. I think this actually might not even be during the World War One, but this might be during the second, but I searched big protest, 1900s, and like look at the size. They go on like they have cars in the back filled with people. And this goes on for miles. Imagine 5,000 people just in a center. Like they were in a like not really convention center, but a big circle building basically, and they just flood out into the streets. Just imagine this, like with 5,000 people. It's ridiculous. So yeah, I have a couple videos I'm gonna share. This is the end of my presentation. Uh, Again, this is your boy coming in clutch with another presentation. Uh, if you want to watch it again, doubt you will though, because I just don't think you want to watch it again. But actually, there's some stuff about the Battalion of Death I want to share, but I couldn't get to it because I didn't have enough time for it. So yeah, these are two videos I'm gonna have you guys watch, or that we're gonna watch together. And there's one guy who's gonna explain why the war could have easily been just not even a thing. So yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys later.